Imagine, just for a second, that you are running a business.
Okay.
And let's say your primary product costs you like about $2,000 to manufacture.
Right.
Now imagine you turn around and sell that exact same product for over $6,700.
The margin alone there is enough to make any CEO's head spin.
Exactly. But you don't just do this once, right? You do it tens of thousands of times, month after month. The cash just piles up so fast that in 3 months, you generate nearly $500 million in pure operating cash flow.
See, most people listening to that scenario would probably assume we're talking about like a high-margin software startup,
Yeah.
or maybe some patented pharmaceutical truck.
Yeah, totally.
You definitely wouldn't associate those kinds of astronomical compounding margins with an industry known for moving millions of tons of actual dirt
Yeah.
or, maintaining fleets of massive heavy machinery and navigating wild commodity price swings.
Right. Which brings us to today's topic. Welcome to today's deep dive. If you're joining us today, your goal is to cut through all the noise of the resource sector and really understand the actual mechanics of a world-class operation.
This is a lot of noise out there.
So much noise. We are looking squarely at the March 2026 Quarterly Activities Report and presentation from Greatland Resources Limited. Our mission for you today is to basically pull apart the engine of this company.
Yeah. Look under the hood.
Exactly. We're going to explore how a mining company optimizes its physical assets to create this totally debt-free billion-dollar cash machine, and what their specific moves this quarter reveal about long-term, multi-decade strategic growth.
Because, a lot of mining operations can post a lucky quarter when global commodity prices just randomly spike. But engineering a business so it deliberately captures the absolute maximum upside of a market while structurally insulating itself against the downside risks, that requires a totally different level of strategy. Greatland isn't just surfing a temporary wave here. They've effectively built their own ocean.
Okay, let's unpack this because we have to start with the raw financial power demonstrated in this March quarter. Let's look at the actual output first.
Your production numbers.
Yeah. In just a 3-month window, Greatland produced 82,723 ounces of gold and 4,128 tons of copper.
Which is a massive volume of metal.
It is. But, volume alone doesn't pay the bills if your costs are out of control. So in mining, they use this metric called all-in sustaining cost, or AISC.
Right.
For anyone outside the industry, AISC is just the brutal, honest number. It includes everything required to keep the lights on, the trucks running, the headquarters staffed, and, the gold actually coming out of the ground.
The real cost.
Exactly. And Greatland's AISC for the quarter was $2,056 per ounce.
Now, put that $2,056 cost up against their average realized gold price for the quarter, which was $6,773 per ounce.
Wow.
Right. You're looking at a gross margin of over $4,700 for every single ounce they pull out of the ground.
To put the reality of that margin into a different context for you, it's like, imagine buying a piece of real estate for $200,000, doing absolutely zero renovations to it, and flipping it the very next day for $670,000.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
But instead of doing that once a year, you are executing that exact trade over 80,000 times in a single quarter.
Which is just wild.
The financial momentum of that is staggering. They generated $453 million in operating cash flow. They added a record $260 million to their cash reserves in 1 quarter.
In just 3 months.
Right. Leaving them completely debt-free, sitting on a cash balance of $1.208 billion, plus another $75 million in an undrawn working capital facility just sitting there if they need it.
What's fascinating here is how they are structurally managing the risk around that massive cash engine.
Yeah.
Because when you're printing money at that velocity, the single biggest existential threat to your business is a sudden, unexpected reversal in the gold price.
Right, the market crashing.
Exactly. You want to maintain your exposure to the upside, but you absolutely have to build a concrete floor underneath your operations. And Greatland has done this by executing a highly disciplined financial hedging strategy using gold put options.
Okay, let me stop you there, because financial derivatives can sound like a totally foreign language. I understand the concept of buying insurance for a house, but how does a gold put option work mechanically for a mining company?
So think of a put option as a contractual safety net that you pay a premium to hold. It gives Greatland the right, but crucially not the obligation, to sell a specific amount of gold at a predetermined price, which is known as the strike price.
Got it.
So Greatland went into the market and bought put options with strike prices ranging from $4,200 to $5,200 per ounce, stretching all the way through 2026 and into the middle of 2027.
So if I'm understanding this, if the global market panics and the spot price of gold crashes down to, say, 3,000 an ounce, Greatland just exercises their contract.
Yes, they forced the counterparty to buy their gold at that protected strike price of, say, $4,200.
Wow. So they still make over 2,000 in profit per ounce, even if the market completely tanks.
Exactly. But if gold rockets up to 8,000 an ounce, they essentially just, tear up the insurance contract and sell into the open market at the $8,000 price.
So they capture all the upside.
That is the exact mechanism. They pay a fee up front for the options, which is just a calculated cost of doing business, but in return, they secure their future cash flows.
That's incredibly smart.
They've shifted their entire corporate narrative away from, hoping the gold price stays high, to a mathematical certainty that they cannot lose money on these ounces, regardless of what the broader market does. It is literally a masterclass in capital protection.
But, I mean, protecting your margin on a spreadsheet in a corporate office means absolutely nothing if your physical operations are falling apart. Like a financial hedge doesn't dig the rock out of the ground. You have to be able to execute in the physical world.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that physical reality happens entirely at the Telfer mine, which Greatland owns 100%.
Right.
Telfer is this massive dual operation. You have the West Dome open pit on the surface and the main dome underground running right beneath it. And the scale of earth moving happening in the open pit alone is, well, it's difficult to comprehend.
Yeah, I saw the numbers for the quarter.
In the March quarter, they moved 6.6 million tons of material. That is a 54% increase quarter on quarter.
See, you don't achieve a 54% increase in material movement by just, asking your truck drivers to skip their lunch breaks.
No, definitely not.
You do it by fundamentally upgrading your physical leverage. They brought in a brand new CT6060 digger. And for anyone trying to visualize this, a CT6060 isn't some tractor you see at a local construction site.
It's a monster.
It is a multi-story, 600-ton mechanical beast that scoops up hundreds of tons of rock in a single bite. And they paired that by commissioning 2 additional haul trucks and returning 3 more trucks from an ongoing rebuild program.
They are literally throwing heavy metal at the pit to expose larger, more productive areas of ore.
But moving the rock is only the first physical bottleneck, right? Once you haul that ore to the surface, you have to extract these microscopic flakes of gold from millions of tons of solid rock. And their processing plant achieved an 88.4% gold recovery rate this quarter.
Which is very impressive.
How difficult is it to actually hit an 88% recovery rate? Break down what the processing plant's actually doing to that rock to get the gold out.
Well, it requires an incredibly tuned chemical and mechanical circuit. So the plant takes boulders the size of cars and feeds them into these giant rotating mills filled with steel balls.
So they're just crushing it.
Exactly, crushing the rock down to a fine powder. And from there, they use chemical leaching processes, often involving cyanide, to literally dissolve the invisible gold particles out of the rock dust.
That's crazy. They turn it into a liquid.
Yeah, turning it into a liquid solution before separating it back into solid gold bullion. So achieving an 88.4% recovery rate means their metallurgical chemistry is dialed in perfectly.
They aren't leaving money behind in the waste pile.
Exactly.
And they're running all of this heavy machinery, crushing millions of tons of rock, mixing industrial chemicals, all while maintaining an impeccable safety record. In corporate presentations, you usually see a line about LTIFR, or lost time injury frequency rate. Greatland reported their 12-month moving average LTIFR is down to 0.2, with 0 lost time injuries for the entire quarter.
And the corporate jargon often masks the human reality of that metric.
Oh, for sure.
Moving 6.7 million tons of rock with machines the size of houses is inherently dangerous.
Right.
A 0 lost time injury quarter means that for 3 solid months, not a single worker was hurt badly enough to miss their next shift.
That's incredible.
They're running the operation faster, they're moving more tonnage, and they're doing it without sacrificing the health of their workforce.
I want to pivot a bit and look at how this physical operation interacts with the rest of the world. Because, let's face it, the global geopolitical landscape is a total mess right now.
It really is.
The ongoing conflict in the Middle East is creating massive disruptions in global supply chains, specifically when it comes to crude oil and diesel supplies.
And diesel is the Achilles heel of the modern mining industry. A standard remote mining operation burns through millions of liters of diesel every month just to keep the haul trucks driving and the remote power generator spinning.
Right.
So if a geopolitical shock causes diesel prices to spike, or worse, disrupts the physical delivery of fuel, a normal mine's cost structure just explodes, they might even have to halt operations entirely.
But Telfer is remarkably shielded from that specific geopolitical vulnerability. Like, let's look at their energy mix. First, their primary processing plant doesn't rely on diesel generators at all.
No, it doesn't.
It runs on natural gas that is produced domestically in Western Australia and delivered directly to the site via the Pilbara pipeline system from Port Hedland.
Yeah. And they also have structural advantages underground. Instead of relying solely on a fleet of diesel-chugging trucks to haul ore miles up a spiral tunnel to the surface, their underground operation uses an electric shaft hoist.
Which is like an elevator, right?
Exactly. It acts like a massive industrial elevator, pulling the highest grade ore to the surface, using electricity generated by their own gas plant. It drastically cuts down their diesel consumption per ounce of gold produced.
And then you add to that the fact that they have 23 million tons of surface stockpiles just sitting right next to the mill.
The buffer.
Yeah. If global supply chains completely froze tomorrow, they have the equivalent of more than 12 months of rock ready to feed into the processing plant without needing to blast a single new ton of earth.
They are financially insulated by their options contracts, mechanically insulated by their energy grid, and logistically insulated by their stockpiles.
Okay, let me push back on this entire narrative for a second, though. I am looking at the sheer velocity of this operation. They're chewing through 6.7 million tons of earth every 3 months,
Right.
even with 23 million tons sitting in a stockpile. If you are digging holes at that speed, aren't you just splinting toward the end of the mine's life? Like, a mine is a finite resource. Eventually, the hole is empty.
And that right there is the structural flaw in every mining business model. It's the most critical question an investor can ask.
Right.
If you own a machine that generates almost $500 million in cash every quarter, your single greatest mandate as a management team is making sure that machine does not run out of fuel. You have to find more gold.
Which brings us to what Greatland is actually doing with that massive cash pile. They are executing one of the most aggressive reinvestment campaigns in the industry right now.
It's massive.
We are talking about a record 240,000-meter annual drill program. They currently have 10 separate drill rigs active across their sites. In the March quarter alone, they drilled over 78,000 meters into the earth, aggressively hunting for new ore bodies right underneath and adjacent to their current operations.
And the results of that drilling campaign were formalized in their updated Telfer mineral resource estimate. The geological data basically proved that the gold doesn't stop where they originally thought it did.
They found more.
A lot more. They grew the Telfer resources by 4.8 million ounces. That's a 150% increase from the previous estimate, bringing the Telfer total to 8.0 million ounces of gold.
Just huge.
And when you combine that with their other assets, the total group resources now sit at nearly 15 million ounces of gold, along with 645,000 tons of copper.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because not all ounces of gold are created equal when it comes to the cost of actually finding them.
Very true.
In the mining industry, you have what's called greenfield exploration and near mine exploration. Greenfield exploration means you are like flying helicopters into uncharted jungles or remote deserts, spending tens of millions of dollars drilling holes in the middle of nowhere, just hoping you stumble across a viable deposit.
Yeah, it's a huge gamble.
And even if you find one, you then have to spend $1 billion building roads, power lines, and a process plant.
But Greatland is doing near-mine exploration. They are literally rolling a drill rig a few hundred yards away from an open pit that already has a road, a power plant, and a functioning processing mill right there.
It's so efficient.
Because of that existing infrastructure, Greatland's discovery cost for these new resources is an astonishing $5 per ounce.
Think about the math on that for a second. They are spending $5 in drilling costs to locate an ounce of gold that they are turning around and selling for $6,700.
It's almost absurd.
It is a return on capital that almost defies logic.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the scale of these new resource upgrades fundamentally changes the identity of Greatland Resources.
How so?
Well, they're not simply a company mining out an old, depleting asset that they acquired. By aggressively exploring and doubling the resource base in a matter of months, they are transforming Telfer from a legacy mine into a multi-decade gold and copper hub. They are ensuring their billion-dollar cash engine has decades of fuel ahead of it.
And Telfer is only one part of the growth strategy. They are also taking the cash flow from the Telfer pit and pouring serious growth capital, like $27.5 million in this quarter alone, into their next major asset, the Havieron project.
Havieron is a beast.
It's a massive, high-grade deposit sitting right next door in the Patterson province. And they aren't just doing theoretical engineering studies on it, they're physically building it out right now. During a quarter, they advanced their early works by completing the precast floor footings and a reinforced concrete arch for the decline tunnel.
And just for context, a decline tunnel is the central artery of an underground mine. It's essentially a massive, spiraling subterranean road that allows those heavy trucks to drive from the surface directly down into the ore body.
Right.
So building the entrance to that tunnel, the portal, is one of the most critical engineering challenges of the entire project.
Why is the reinforced concrete arch specifically so important, though? Like, what are they protecting the tunnel against?
They are protecting it against the sky.
The weather.
Yeah, the Pilbara region of Western Australia is prone to extreme weather, including massive seasonal monsoons and really heavy rainfall events.
Oh, right.
If you just dig a hole in the dirt, a severe monsoon can wash out the entrance entirely or flood the decline, setting the project back by months and costing millions in structural repairs.
That makes sense.
By installing heavy precast floor footings and a reinforced concrete arch, they are permanently locking the structural integrity of the mine entrance in place. They are literally weatherproofing their future production capacity.
So if we recap the board right now, Greatland has a hyper-profitable current operation at Telfer. They've executed massive resource upgrades to guarantee Telfer's longevity, and they are physically cementing the infrastructure for Havieron to bring a whole new wave of high-grade ore online.
It's a solid lineup.
You would think that gold and copper would be enough of a story. But just 10 kilometers down the road from the Telfer mill lies a massive strategic wildcard that, honestly, completely changes the complexion of the company.
And that wild card is a deposit called O'Callaghan's. During this quarter, Greatland released a maiden mineral resource estimate for this specific asset.
And the numbers are huge.
The numbers are massive. 70 million tons of material containing tungsten, copper, zinc, and lead. By scale and grade, O'Callaghan's is recognized as one of the largest high-grade tungsten deposits anywhere on the planet.
I have to pause and ask the obvious question here. You have a company that holds 15 million ounces of gold. They are making $500 million in operating cash flow, pulling gold and copper out of the ground.
Right.
Why should a highly profitable gold miner dedicate resources to a deposit of tungsten, zinc, and lead? Like, doesn't focusing on these obscure metals just distract management from the main cash engine?
It sounds like a distraction until you understand what tungsten actually is, and more importantly, how the global economy views it.
Okay, tell me.
Tungsten is not a precious metal. It is a designated critical mineral. It has the highest melting point of any metal and extreme density. You don't put tungsten in a jewelry box.
What do you use it for?
You use it to build armor-piercing munitions, aerospace rocket nozzles, industrial cutting tools, and components for semiconductor manufacturing.
Oh, wow. So it is the backbone metal for the defense industry and advanced technology.
Exactly. And the global supply chain for tungsten is highly constrained right now and largely controlled by nations outside the Western Alliance.
Ah.
Having a globally significant deposit of a critical mineral makes Greatland incredibly relevant to the future economy.
But the real genius of O'Callaghan's is its location. It isn't located out in some untouched wilderness, requiring a decade of environmental permitting and billions of dollars in new roads to access.
Right. It's sitting exactly 10 kilometers south of the operating Telfer mine. It's only 300 meters below the surface. But, the most crucial detail in the report is that O'Callaghan sits entirely within Greatland's existing approved mining lease.
That's the game changer. They already have the tenure. They don't have to fight through 10 years of bureaucratic red tape to get permission to build a mine. They are operating in Australia, one of the most stable, well-regulated jurisdictions in the world, and they have a world-class critical mineral deposit sitting right next to an existing power plant, water supply, and processing hub.
The previous owners actually conducted a pre-feasibility study on O'Callaghan's back in 2014, which demonstrated that it could be a technically and economically viable long-life underground operation.
Wow.
So Greatland essentially inherited this strategic powerhouse and is now bringing it back to the forefront of their portfolio. It transforms them from just a gold company into a diversified critical mineral supplier.
So, what does this all mean? When you pull back and look at the entire landscape of this March 2026 quarterly report, you are looking at a masterclass in capital allocation.
100%.
They have optimized the brutal physical reality of moving Earth to create an incredibly high margin. They are taking that $453 million in quarterly cash flow, and because they have zero debt to service, they are turning that cash into a weapon.
Yeah, a weapon for growth.
They are fully self-funding a multi-decade expansion. They are finding new gold for $5 an ounce. They are physically building Hoburon, and they are unlocking this massive critical minerals wild card with O'Callaghan's.
This raises an important question about how we fundamentally value resource companies. The traditional narrative of the mining sector is the romantic idea of the rugged explorer.
Oh, yeah, guys in hard hats out in the desert.
Right. We are conditioned to cheer for the companies that take on massive debt and immense risk to hunt for the next great undiscovered frontier in some remote, unforgiving corner of the globe.
Yeah.
But Greatland is proving that the most lucrative strategy isn't always hunting in the dark. It is finding a historic, existing hub, applying operational excellence, and aggressively drilling where the infrastructure already exists.
It really makes you realize that sometimes the greatest returns don't come from finding a brand new neighborhood. They come from realizing the house you just bought has a massive gold vein in the backyard.
Absolute.
But I want to leave you with a completely different thought to mull over as we wrap up. When you look at the portfolio Greatland is building, gold is clearly the economic battery. It is the flashy, high-margin asset generating those half-billion-dollar cash flows.
The engine.
Exactly. But look at the geopolitical trajectory of the next 50 years. The global transition to smart circuitry, aerospace dominance, and advanced defense weaponry relies heavily on metals that don't shine.
Critical minerals.
Consider the profound irony here. The ultimate legacy of this incredible hyper-optimized gold operation might not be the wealth it hoards in a bank vault. Its true historic value might simply be its ability to quietly and independently fund the extraction of obscure critical minerals like tungsten.
That's a fascinating way to look at it.
The very materials that will actually dictate global power, technological supremacy, and supply chain security over the next century. Gold pays the bills today, but it is the unglamorous tungsten under the shed that might actually build the future. Take that thought with you, and we will see you next time on The Deep Dive.